Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Can you believe that I'm actually filming my vlog at night and not in the morning? It's actually 4:57 a.m., so it is the morning. Can you believe it's so early? This is like when real people get up and get ready for work and stuff. But I have gone to bed so early the last couple nights, it's probably been good for me. I was in bed and asleep last night by 10 o'clock. But I kept on snoozing my alarm, you guys, like, for the first couple hours. And then I just turned it off. And then I woke up at like 3 o'clock. And I looked at my alarm, or I looked at my phone, and I was like, I should get up and go vlog. But I was so cozy, and it looked so cold outside. It's 34 degrees right now. And then I woke up at like 4:30, and I was like, okay, get up. I was like wide awake, like wide awake. Did you ever just wake up and you're like, eh? Like your eyes are like wide open? That's how I was. Like, couldn't have gone back to sleep if I wanted to. So, I don't know. I guess I must have gotten good enough sleep. I was having really bizarre dreams last night. I had this dream that this YouTuber was having this, like, scavenger hunt. And you had to watch, like, videos to find clues for the scavenger hunt. And I was, like, winning the scavenger hunt. And it was like, kind of like, what's that book that I just read? Ready Player 2 or Ready Player 1, where there's like a scoreboard. And my name was like at the top of the scoreboard. And people were like freaking out, wondering how I got these clues. That was my dream. I wonder if it's because in my video today I talked about David Dobrik put out this puzzle, and he's giving like up to $100,000 away. When you complete this puzzle, you like take a picture of it and then you like send it in, and it'll tell you how much money you get. I wonder if that's why I had that dream, because it was such a random dream. Not a weird dream. Like, my dreams were not bad, like they were good dreams, but I just had like they were just real bizarre dreams. And just had like really random people in them too. Boo Radley is in a lot of my dreams lately. Isn't that so funny? He's always just like walking with me wherever I'm going. He's such a cutie patootie. I love him so much. He's so funny. When we got him groomed, I think I said this on here already, and she couldn't do his face because he was like so anxious about it. There's like this one hair, and it's like down here. It's like not even on his face. It's like on his neck going into his face, but it's real long and it hangs off. But it's so funny. Like I should cut it because it just looks so random, but it kind of reminds me of like, you know, like when people have like the rat tail kind of like hair thing, you know, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And I don't know why, but it just goes with his personality so well that we've just kept it, and it's so funny, it's so cute. I mean, because of course he's completely oblivious to it, you know. One time, Boo Radley got this really, like, they got all the way like shaved down, like puppy. We get them cut puppy short, like how Tucker is right now. And Boo Radley got cut really, really short. Tanya traded groomers, and so, or didn't trade groomers, like the old groomer that she had left and moved, and so now she has a new groomer. And the old groomer, like Boo Radley, like at first wasn't comfortable with her either, and then kind of like grew into it because he knew her over time. And so she could like do his face and stuff like that. Well, what was I gonna say? She like trimmed them down for summer. Like I think we got them done in like late July or August or something, and it was really hot outside. And so she cut them like really short, like just shaved them down so that they would be real comfortable, you know, for summer. And Boo Radley came home, and he was so embarrassed with his haircut. He would not come out of his house. He likes going in his little house anyway, which is like, you know, their crate that they have in the basement. We just leave it open all the time, 24 hours a day. Boo Radley actually eats in there. So we put Tucker's plate at the top of the stairs. So we used to feed Pee-Pee in the kitchen. Like, his plate would go in the kitchen, and then Tucker's plate would go at the top of the stairs, and Boo's plate goes in his house. We had to separate them because they would eat each other's food. So after Pee-Pee passed away, we tried to feed like Tucker in the kitchen and Boo Radley at the top of the stairs so that we wouldn't have to walk down to the basement every single time we fed him. I know, right? Like, big deal, but Tucker, like, would not eat in the kitchen. It was weird. It was like he knew that was, like, Pee-Pee's place. And to this day, like, if I put a plate down in the kitchen and was standing there, like, Tucker would not eat off of it. Like, I mean, would not eat off of it. So he still eats at the top of the stairs, like, on the slate floor by the bathroom. And then Boo Radley eats in his house. So we have to take, and he'll run down to the house and he starts barking. We're not even there yet. He's like, arr, arr. Like, where's my food? He's so cute. But anyway, when we crate trained them, I can't remember who told us this. It was somebody that, like, had crate trained their dogs really well that we knew at the time. And they're like, just leave your crate open 24 hours a day and they'll get used to, like, going in there. We call it their house. We'll go like, okay, you guys, go to your house. And they, like, run right in there. And so they had no problem. They've never had a problem with their crate, though. And Boo Radley, like, loves his crate. Like, he'll go down there. We'll be like, where's Boo Radley? And, because, like, Tucker, you know, is constantly with us. And we'll be like, where's Boo Radley? And he's just laying in his crate, just in his blanket down there. It used to kind of make me sad. I'd be like, why does Boo Radley, like, lay in his crate so much? And I asked the vet. And the vet's like, he just likes it down there. Just, you know, he's fine. She was like, sometimes dogs just like to be, you know, alone for a while and stuff. She's like, he's totally fine down there. So he hasn't been doing that as much last week or two, though, as much as before. Our house is drafty, so sometimes I think when it gets cold, he goes down there, because it's so weird, because, like, we have, like, a, you know, a basement, like, underground basement, under the ground. Obviously, that's what a basement is, you know, but, like, an actual basement, and so, like, in the winter, the basement's always really warm, and in the summer, it's always really cool. And so I think, like, Boo Radley likes it down there, because, like, in the summer, like, when it's hot in the rest of the house, I mean, we keep our air pretty low, but, like, he'll go down there, and I think it's really cool for him in his little house and stuff. And then in the winter, it's warm because it's underground. I don't know. I was just thinking about this tonight, because it's December 11th now, when I'm filming this, but December 10th was yesterday. And I was thinking about, I was in this really, like, bad car accident when I was in high school. It was like my junior year. Yeah, it would have had to have been my junior year. I was like, was it my sophomore year? It would have had to have been my junior year, because I didn't drive until my junior year. Because I was 15, 16, 17. Yeah, I was 15 my whole sophomore year of high school, because I didn't turn 18 until after I graduated from high school. So I didn't turn 16 until the summer before my junior year. And I got in this really bad car accident. I mean, it wasn't like, I wasn't hurt, but I used to stay with my dad a lot on Wednesday nights, or whenever I wanted to throughout the week or weekends or whatever. My parents just really were not strict with that stuff at all. Like, I have to go through here and mail this. Oh, you know what? Do I even have a stamp on Yeah, I do have a stamp on it. It's my HOA fees. Do you know if they charge us $20 online to pay it online? It's like this service. And if we pay it online, we have to pay $20. I'm like, that is so ridiculous. Anyway. So, my parents never, like, they could care less, like, if I wanted to stay at my dad's house on a Wednesday or whatever. Or, you know, if I wanted to stay, like, if it was my dad's weekend and I wanted to stay at my mom's to, like, go out with my friends and stuff like that, like, they just didn't, they never fought over stuff like that. They could care less, like, and I don't really, to be honest, in retrospect, I'm gonna drive out here actually and show you guys because this is so crazy. I don't really know in retrospect where my parents, like, got these great skills of parenting. I mean, they weren't the greatest parents in the entire world. They weren't the worst parents in the entire world, you know? I think they did the best that they could do. You know, I talk so much about my mom's drinking that it makes it sound, I think, to people that, like, my mom was drunk, like, 24 hours a day, but that just was really not the case. You know, I mean, there were most nights that I would come home from school and stuff, my mom wouldn't even start drinking until, like, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you know? And then, if even then, and a lot of nights she wouldn't get drunk. Like, a lot of her severe drinking, she saved until the weekends that I was with my dad, especially when I was, like, younger. But then when I got older, like when I was in high school, was really, and I was doing a lot of stuff with my friends, and I wasn't really with my mom as much, and she was lonely, and she just would work and come home. That's when I feel like her drinking really got bad. And then when I graduated from high school and I got my own apartment is when it, like, even got worse. But, you know, like, growing up, and maybe I've done a disservice kind of talking about my mom that way. I mean, was she an alcoholic and did she drink alcoholically? Absolutely. Was it 24 hours a day, every day of the week? No, it wasn't at all. I mean, my mom was like, you know, I'd come home and, you know, we would sit at the table and do, you know, schoolwork if I had any when I was a little kid or whatever, you know, and she would make, you know, some after school snack. I mean, there was a lot of that. The problem wasn't that she wasn't like that all the time. The problem was I didn't ever know what I was going to walk into. Like, I didn't know if I was going to walk into Little House, and I've said this on here before, I didn't know if I was going to walk into Little House on the Prairie chili dinner sitting at the kitchen table, or if I was going to walk into, like, my mom being ready to pass out and trying to throw some kind of dinner together, which always made me very scared. I didn't like that. When I was younger, especially. When I was older, I didn't really care. It just kind of pissed me off. But anyway, so I stayed at my dad and my stepmom's house typically on Wednesday nights and every other weekend. That was kind of like our plan. Holidays were kind of up in the air. I would do, like, Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day morning with my mom. And then I would go over to my dad's house Christmas Day night. Christmas Day, I don't remember, sometime in the afternoon. And then I would stay with my dad, like the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Sometimes we went out of town for New Year's. But maybe more when I got older, like in high school. So anyway, this one year, and it maybe wouldn't have, I don't know what year it would have been. It was either my junior or my senior year. I could look it up. I would be really surprised if it wasn't a Thursday, because I usually stayed at my dad's house on Wednesdays. It was either like a Monday or it was a Thursday. Although I feel like it was a Thursday, because that weekend we were going to Southern Indiana. I had a friend whose parents had won they had won quite a bit of money in the lottery, and they were from Southern Indiana, and they had bought a house in Southern Indiana, in Princeton, Indiana. And so myself and 3 of my friends were gonna go down there that weekend and visit her. Because it was like the beginning of Christmas break or something. Would it have been the beginning? Yeah, it would have been, I guess. And I had stolen a bottle of champagne. And so when I wrecked my car, I took this bottle of champagne and I chucked it in the woods as far as I could. So anyway, what I would do is, I've told this story on here before about this incident, but anyway, the reason I'm thinking about it is because it was on December 13th, and it's December 11th, and I'm like, you know, we really haven't had any, like, snow or ice, or, I mean, we've had, one day we had some snow, and that was it. We haven't had any snow or ice yet this year at all, which is kind of weird. I mean, it's been cold, and it's been cold enough to snow, and I'm, like, all these people, like, there's a lot of people in my vlog and stuff that are commenting, and they're saying, like, oh, it's cold enough for this and it's cold enough for that and yada yada yada, but I'm not really like, or people are saying like, oh, we have a lot of snow here, we have a lot of snow there, but like, we don't have any snow here yet, and I want it. I want some Christmas snow. But anyway, that was December 13th, and well, I know it was December 13th. It was either I think it was a Thursday morning, and I stayed at my dad's house on a Wednesday. I'll pull in here in a second and look just because I'm interested. But anyway, I was going down this road. I'll show you the road here in a second. I'm going to take you to exactly where it happened. And there was this little bridge that you go over. You don't even really think of it as a bridge. It's just like wood on either side. And right before I got to the bridge, I hit black ice and I spun. And I've been thinking actually a lot about this lately because I was listening to the tape cassette, the Windham Hill Winter Solstice, but I don't know which one it was, but I loved this tape so much. And years later, I always wondered what that tape was, and I could never find, and I've like been listening to them like on YouTube, and I can't find, it was this one song that I would play over and over and over again. Well, I was playing that song when I had the accident. And so what happened was, I hit black ice, and I couldn't remember, like, if you, like, turned against it or turned with it. Like, I knew that you did one of those things, like, when you started spinning. Like, I literally, and I wasn't even going that fast, but just imagine, it was, like, literally about this time in the morning. I hit this black ice, and I started spinning, like, immediately, and I was in this little Jeep deal, and I was like, oh my God. And I can remember, like, literally consciously thinking to myself, do I turn with it or do I turn against it? And I just let go and went like this, and the car just spun and spun and spun and spun and spun, and then it went boom like that against this like bridge, and then it like fell over the side of this bridge into the water. There was like a little creek. It wasn't deep. It was probably like a half a foot deep. And it was like, I remember, and it snowed, and it was like there was snow everywhere, and it was beautiful. And I could hear that music from that Windham Hill because it was like still playing in my car. And it was completely silent except for that. It was the weirdest thing, you guys. And like, I was just standing out there, like I got out and I was standing in the woods, and I immediately went to the trunk of my car and got that champagne out that I had stolen from my dad. And I took it and I chucked it as far as I could. And then I just kind of stood there, and I was like, I kind of became very childlike all of a sudden, and I was just like very scared. I was like, I didn't know like what to do. And there was a house, like I had just passed. What is so crazy about this house is that when I was in high school, this house was little. It was like just this little house. And they have since like added on to this house, and this house is like pretty massive now. I'll show you. But I remember I went up to the door, I like walked up there, I trudged up there in the snow, and I walked up to the door, and I rang the doorbell. And you know, because this is what would happen is, I would like get up in the morning at my dad's house, And then like I would shower and stuff, and then I would come home, and then I would change. I didn't even have my clothes with me to change for school. I would come to my mom's house, and I would drop my stuff off, and I would change for school, and then I would go pick up my friends from school. So this was probably like 5:30 in the morning. Isn't that so crazy? I want to see what that date was. December 13th. Let's see, that would have been like, it would have been 1980. It would have been like 1989, I think. Well, 1989 would have been a Wednesday. So, okay, if I graduated in 90, then that would have been my senior year, which would have meant that could be, yeah, that would make sense if it was 89, that it was, what would it have made sense? Well, do you know what would have made sense is that, didn't we end up getting off school and like Wednesday would be our last day of school, and then Thursday and Friday we would be off for winter break? I wonder if that's what it was. So that would have made sense, but anyway, I don't know. Weird fact about this, okay, that freaked me out for years and years and years, was, if you've heard me tell my story about when I got, oh, the battery is gonna, how is the battery so low already? I'm not changing it until it dies. Weird fact, years later, I was in, I'm gonna drive out here and I'm gonna show you guys this place where it happened. But anyway, I was just thinking about that this morning, because I was thinking, like, we haven't even gotten any snow or anything yet. Like, it's so weird, you know, that happened when I was in high school and whatever, but we haven't got any snow. So, strange, years later, with this guy that I was dating, I wouldn't even call it a boyfriend, and we went to this Christmas party that was kind of like up the street. It was in these condos kind of up the street from where I lived. It wasn't close, it was probably 3 miles walk, but it wasn't far away either. We went to this Christmas party, and if you live in Indianapolis, let me just put this in perspective for you, okay? What I'm about to tell you happened at 96 and Allisonville Road, and going north, if you were on Allisonville going north of 96th Street, that was all gravel road, okay? I mean, none of it was paved at the time. And it was the condos that were to the right, behind where the Shell station is. If you live in Indianapolis, that'll make sense to you. So anyway, I was at this party with this guy that I was dating, and I lived in these apartments up the street, Scandia apartments, and I got so wasted drunk. I mean, this was like literally the epitome of my drinking. It was horrible. I was wasted. And I remember they had like, it was like a really nice party, but they had a bar in the garage, and they had like a bartender and stuff, and it was a Christmas party. And it was this was on December 13th, you guys. And, they had a Christmas party, or they had a bartender and stuff, and the bartender cut me off, and they had like 2 of those folding tables, you know, 2 like full-length folding tables, and I don't remember what I said, but I must have said something to the guy, because he was like, I got kind of rude, and he was like nice about it. And I just remember like this exchange where he was real nice about it at first, and I like reached to try to get a bottle, and he like took my hand or something, and he was like, I don't really remember a whole lot of how it happened, but he was like, no, you're cut off. And I was like, and I took that table with you guys. This was like this guy that I was dating. It was like his boss, okay? So imagine like, I don't know, just like a nice work Christmas party. I took this table and I just like threw it in with all of this alcohol and stuff on it. I was like, F this. And then kind of realized what I had done, and I'll tell you that in a second. Hold on a second. So this is where it happened, but it was coming the other way. Oh my God, is my battery dying? No, okay. So this is where it happened, but it was coming the other way. This was all country road. There was like no offices. There's like offices and stuff here. There was none of this here. Now, where you see these yellow, like hazard things right here, this was the bridge right here. See, there's the bridge. And I went into this creek right here. And this was the woods that I climbed out of that you can hardly see. And then I climbed all the way up here. And here is the house. Right here. And it was like teeny tiny house. And now it's massive. And I was like scared to death. And I just like stood there, and I remember the woman was like, she was like, "Sweetie, can we help you?" I mean, can you imagine getting your doorbell rang at like 5:30 in the morning? And I just like looked at her, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I like shook my head. I was like so out of it. And like, it's so weird when I think about throwing that alcohol, because that was like my first response, you know, was like I knew that was in there and I needed to get rid of it. But like as soon as that happened, I like almost kind of like I said, like I became like, I was like childlike. It was weird. Like I was like terrified. And I remember I just like looked at her and I shook my head like this, and she was like, can we call somebody for you? And I was like, and I remember my dad came out. My dad used to always wear this old like green parka. It's like army parka. And so he came out, and I just remember he was like, he just kept on saying over and over and over and over again. He was like, "I'm so glad that you're good. Okay, I'm so glad that you're okay. I'm so glad that you're okay." And I totaled the hell out of that car. But anyway, thankful that I'm okay too. It's so still out here. It's pretty. It's funny to think that I grew up, you know, like driving these like backcountry roads and stuff in the early morning hours. I was really never afraid though. Well, it's funny because I tell the story about like my friends putting stuff in the middle of the road. They did it on my driveway, my dad's house was on a private drive. They did it so I couldn't get down the private drive. They also did it on this street right here that I'm on. But like none of this was here. Like that's the other thing that's so weird, is like this was like literally country road. I'm like out here by Cumberland Road, if people know where that's at in Indianapolis. This house right here somewhere has an elevator in it. I remember when they were building it, I always thought that that was so cool. But anyway, yeah. So I was at that party with that guy that I was dating. And he was like the first guy that I ever would have kind of like considered a boyfriend, kind of. But I don't really consider it. I mean, it was so short-lived. In retrospect, I don't consider that. I was so young. But anyway, I remember walking back. I don't really remember this happening at all. I remember the after. I can just see like images of it. But I was on that gravel road, and I had on like a black sport coat and black jeans. And I guess it was just real difficult to see me. And I like just remember turning and looking behind me, and there was this van there. And I mean, the van like just, that's the last thing I remember, is like turning and seeing this van behind me. And there was a van that was going 55 miles an hour. And it threw me like, it hit me and it threw me like 50 feet in the air. And I landed like that on my head. and bounced, they said. They thought they had killed me. And they lifelined me to the hospital, my dad's hospital, where at the time he was chief of staff. And he came out there, and I remember, like, I came to, and he was so, like, not happy about it. The camera stopped, and then the battery was flashing, so I was like, well, I'll just pull in here and change it so I can go on. But anyway, I was talking about my dad being like, oh, look at this little, oh, this is cute. This little farmhouse out here has all these lights on it. Let's see. It's a beautiful little farmhouse. Well, it's not a little farmhouse. It's kind of a big farmhouse, but look at that. Oh. Guys, I haven't put my Christmas tree up yet. I need to put my little Christmas tree up. But, yeah, my dad was not happy about it. And he was like, I mean, like, he would have been worried about me if it wasn't, I mean, he was worried about me, but I think, well, first of all, I was being belligerent. Because I can remember, he was like, they're gonna arrest you if you don't settle down. And I just was being like, let me out of here, and all this kind of stuff. They said that had I not been drinking as much as I was, I would have ended up, well, first of all, let's just put this in perspective. I wouldn't have been, okay, this is so creepy. Tanya and I were driving this road the other night, and I had no idea where we were. We were looking for Christmas lights. And do you guys remember the story that I told about doing the Ouija board in the cemetery with my friend, and how she and her sister, like, concocted this whole story, and they were like, made us think that, like, these people were haunting my friend and I and all this kind of stuff. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I told a whole story on here one time. Anyway, and they had, like, these catalogs that had, like, coffin pictures in them and stuff. So Tanya and I are driving through here the other night. It's kind of a creepy old neighborhood along here anyway. And I go, I have no idea where I am, Tanya. And all of a sudden we came out, and we were like, we were right next to, I think I'm going the wrong way, actually. We were right next to that cemetery, which is literally, I'm coming right up on it. And this is where my friends and I, when we were in high school, my friend's older sister was like in her late 20s. And so we would do the Ouija board at her house. There was like 4 of us. There was like 4 of us and my friend's, yeah, there was my friend, her sister, and then my friend's boyfriend, and then me and my friend. And here it is. This is the cemetery right here. It's, you guys, literally, this is so spooky. I don't know if you can see it, but it's to my left, and it's to my right over here. The cemetery's on both sides, okay? We came over to this cemetery, and we would sit in there in the dark, and we would do these Ouija boards, okay? And my friend, this is Highland Cemetery, established in 1905. Oh my God, it creeps me even to drive through here, you guys, because I'm like, if I look close enough, I'm like, I'm sure I'll see a ghost walking through there. So anyway, we did the Ouija board there. And my friend and her sister decided that they were gonna, like, freak my friend and I out. And they, like, something ended up happening that was real weird with all of that, because my friend and I remember this, like, smell associated with it. They had, like, this really weird perfume that they would spray on this catalog, but they had, like, gone and got something, like, from a funeral home, like a catalog, and they would, like, burn the edges of it and whatever. And so then my friend and I, we tried to do the same thing. I remember she dressed, like, all in black and went into this funeral home and tried to get, like, this catalog for coffins, and it just, the whole thing was like so weird, but it was so spooky. And I remember that my friend ended up getting really weirded out by the whole thing, and she's like, I will never do the Ouija board again. So anyway, that was there. But anyway, Tanya and I came out the other day. We were looking at Christmas lights, and we came out onto, and I was like, oh my God, that's that cemetery. That freaks me out. So anyway, but I can remember my dad was like, the guy that I was dating was at the hospital. He was like really, really concerned. And my dad was like, you just need to go home. And I was at the time, I had, when did I start dating him? I bet I was 19 at the time. Yeah, I bet it was a year after I came out. So, yeah, I think so. And, really put him through it with some drinking stuff. I tried to make amends to him at our friend's funeral. That was years and years and years and years ago. You know, I look back on my drinking and my drugging and stuff like that, and it's like, it scares me to think that I'm still capable of being that person today, you know? But like, I am such a believer that... It was interesting because somebody commented on my vlog and said, I was talking about like, people ask me if I can have a sip of alcohol, if I can have a beer or whatever, and I'm like, I'm not really willing to risk it, because I truly do believe that I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and if I am, then eventually when I pick up, I'll end up right back there. I've known people that have literally ended up back there, like where they ended off, like in a week. I've known other people it took them 2 to 3 years, you know? I know other people that never got back to where they were before, but they were never really happy and never really used happily ever again. You know, their buzz had been kind of ruined by recovery. But somebody commented on my video. It was somebody actually that I know, like, that comments on my vlogs a lot. So I apologize, but I also wouldn't want to, like, put your name on this if you didn't want me to. But it was in the comment sections I noticed. Someone said, yeah, I tried that. Going back out, it didn't last very long. And I ended up, like, right back to where I was again. And, you know, like... It's important for us to hear those stories and know that, you know, and thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it, because those are hard things for us to share, you know, as people being in recovery. But the reality is we need to know that, and we need to know that people do come in and they are successful again, and that people come back in and they get to be sober, you know, because there's some people that won't make it back in. There's some people that will go back out and think they can handle it and they end up dead. And in fact, the majority of the people that I know that have passed away from addiction are not people that never were introduced to recovery. They're people that were introduced to recovery and thought they could handle it and went back out. You know, my friend Max, if you go listen to his story, it's powerful because he had been sober for 8 months when he robbed a pharmacy. 8 months. And thought he could handle it. And if you listen to it, I mean, like, he was just taking mouthfuls, you know, after he, like, robbed the pharmacy. It's scary, you know? Anyway, I got out of the hospital. And I had to walk on a cane. I had this bright blue cane. I have pictures of it. It's so sad. Like, that year... Because I didn't stop drinking, so I kept on drinking. And you guys know how I've talked about, so my mom at one point had these pictures, and it was like us at Christmas. And there were like 3 or 4 pictures, and she had them like in a row, but like if you looked at them, you would think that they went like, you know, in ascending order, if that makes sense, right? Like from like the earliest year to the latest year. But in fact, they didn't. They went like another way, and, or something like that. I can't remember how or where she had them, but anyway, this one picture that you would think was like from years ago was from my mom and I, like the Christmas after we got sober. And then this other picture was from that Christmas, and I'm holding this bright blue cane from Crate and Barrel, and I have these suspenders on, and I looked a train wreck. I had like I had, you know, still bruises on my face, and I was puffy from drinking, and I wasn't heavy, but I was thinner, but I was puffy from, I'll see if I can find those pictures, but my face was puffy, and my mom's face was real puffy and red. It's kind of strange because, like, when you've lived that for a long time, or you've been around somebody, you can kind of spot it a little bit. Like, there's kind of like, my mom kind of had that weathered alcoholic look to her. And I'm telling you, like, my mom got sober at 51 years old. And I mean to tell you, within like a year or two, like, her face lost 10 years. Like, seriously. I mean, it was unbelievable how much younger she looked after she quit drinking. Like, there was a freshness to her face. I remember when I worked in treatment, and this woman is still sober today too. There was this woman on the women's unit, and she literally, like, you could smell her, like, down the hallway. And she was yellow and had, like, pancreatitis or cirrhosis of the liver. And literally was yellow, like, in complete, like, organ failure. You would look at her, I mean, she was, like, as yellow as this yellow light up here, right? I mean, I'm not, you guys, yellow. And it was so sad, you know, and it was so scary. And I'm like, as yellow as that, talk to Tucker. I mean, she was. And I can just remember thinking to myself, God, can you even imagine? Like, my drinking was bad, but I can't even imagine getting to the point. And I remember, like, she was in there for, like, a long time. She was in there for, like, 2 months or something. She was on the residential unit. And she was probably, like... Well, that was the other thing, is that you would see a lot of, like, especially it seemed like women, you would see it a lot with women that looked like they were maybe 60 when they came in, maybe a little bit 65, who were actually like 40. Because they looked so just rough, you know? And she was an example of that. And I will never forget, I rounded that corner one day. I had been gone for a couple days, and I rounded that corner and I didn't even recognize her. I mean, she looked so unbelievably good. And her skin was back to normal. And she had been eating healthy while she was in treatment. And hydrating and drinking lots of water and replacing, you know, because that's really important with detox and stuff like that. You just see her today. I mean, you would never know. Never know. Whenever she tells that story, because I mean, I know her today, and so whenever she tells that story in meetings about how she would look in the mirror and stuff like that, it's always just like so powerful to me, because I'm just like, and there's a lot of people that I've heard that story from, you know, but like I can remember it with her. And I can remember there being like women in their 20s that would come in and they literally looked like they were 50. And I mean, over just the course of like 2 weeks of like eating healthy, resting, not using, drinking lots of water, replacing it with like fluids and things like that. I mean, you couldn't even believe it. It was like night and day. We don't really realize how much damage alcohol and drugs does to our system, you know? Now, I mean, and we're just talking physically. I remember that my doctor, this was at 22 and a half, who was one of the leading addictionologists in the country, he was a good friend of my dad's, was like really worried that I started having like organ failure already from drinking, because I was drinking such severe amounts of alcohol, you know? But for the grace of God, I can remember women in their 20s coming in there and having holes in their stomachs and stuff. That's so scary to me. So would I risk all of that for having a beer? No, I'm good. I don't need a beer. You know, it's crazy because like in the rooms of recovery, like we all kind of know that we're like, you know, these crazy fun people that have had kind of wild lives. But like outside of that, I feel like people think we're kind of prudish, you know, or whatever, which is not the case. I mean, we're not. I don't know. Sometimes I think with certain topics I'm becoming prudish as I get older, but not with that, obviously. Or that we haven't lived, or, you know, whatever. And And I can remember in early sobriety, like I'd be somewhere else and somebody would be talking about like doing shots or whatever, you know, if I was with like a group of people that weren't in sobriety. And I would have like this need to kind of like qualify, you know, and be like, well, let me tell you how much I could have drank back in the day, you know. I don't have that anymore. I don't really care. But I also think it's like a different time, you know, like I meet so many people today that just don't drink because they choose not to drink. Like, which is such a cool thing to me. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with drinking. I really don't if you can handle it. You know, my husband drinks. He loves to drink wine. You know, it's like, whatever. He'll have a beer here and there. You know, some of our friends drink. It's like, do you, right? But, and Alex will drink all different kinds of stuff. You know, our friends will do all different kinds of stuff. But, like, the idea that there are so many people that are just... Like, you know, this whole health phase and health movement has happened in our world. And so a lot of people are not drinking because of that. Or a lot of people are, you know, not drinking because they want to feel better, you know, they just have no need for it in their lives or whatever. It's like my friend Melissa, you know, her husband drinks. She doesn't drink. She doesn't notice. We'll go out to dinner and, you know, Alex will get a Malbec and he'll get an Angry Orchard and Melissa and I'll get Cokes, or I'll get a Mr. Pibb and she'll get a Coke, you know what I mean? Like, and she just has had no desire for it. And I have a couple other friends that are similar to that as well. We have a couple friends of ours that are like really, really like into health and running and, you know, Ironmans and CrossFit and all that kind of stuff. They just like one day just stopped. They just were like, we're done. We don't want any alcohol, you know, anymore whatsoever. There's some traffic happening this morning. I talked about books at the beginning of this, didn't I? I was going to say, I finished the Alice Oseman Radio Silence today. You guys, I'm just going to say it on here for those of you that don't watch my BookTube channel. She is such a phenomenal author. You guys, I am just like absolutely, absolutely blown away by Alice Oseman. She just is like probably one of my new favorite authors, and I've actually read everything that she has out now. I read Radio Silence, Solitaire, Radio Silence, the 3 Heartstopper novels, and the 2 spinoffs from Solitaire, all in a week. She's that good, you guys. I did a whole BookTube video the other day talking about the genius of Alice Oseman, because she is a genius. She weaves these universes together of characters where there's like a character, like a side character in the graphic novels that's a main character in Radio Silence. It's like, it's crazy how she does all this stuff, and it all happens in the same town, and people kind of know each other, and there's 2 different schools, and you guys, it's just, and it's done so beautifully. It's so well done. It's so beautifully well done. Done so beautifully well. And, like, her discussion of just diverse populations and how people identify with their sexuality and things, it's just... Like, she does it in a way that isn't off-putting. Especially in Radio Silence at the end of it, there's kind of like a serious conversation. And it was really cool how she did it. It was like very educational, but like not in kind of a lecturing. When I say off-putting, I mean like in a lecturing kind of way. It was like, it just so flowed, right? And I just was really, really impressed with it. But they're really kind of good, like, I wouldn't say necessarily mysteries. I don't really know how to explain them. They're kind of just like, you don't really know what's going to happen next kind of thing. I don't really know how to explain. They're not, I wouldn't say they're just like young adult contemporaries, because they're not. And they're definitely not like young adult romances. I don't know what I would consider them. I consider them just like, well, one is about a website. So Solitaire is kind of about just not fitting in. But Radio Silence is about this podcast that goes viral on YouTube. Like, if you have any interest, obviously, if you're watching this, you might. If you have any interest in, you know, like YouTube or like people that go viral or whatever, like that's what that is about. And the, like, the mystique behind, or the mystere behind, you know, who is this person and where did they come from, and, you know, whatever, and all this kind of stuff, and the mystery behind, like, the secret of this channel that goes viral. That's what Radio Silence is about. That's what it's really about, Charlie Brown. I was just thinking about that today. I was like, you know, I started off with like a bang with the Christmas season, and then I was like, other than Santa Jaws the other day for my Bad Movie Monday reviews, I really haven't, like, done a whole lot for, like, Christmas. I haven't ordered any of my Christmas presents. I put it on my list every single day. I've been, like, really good about making a list this week, which is probably why I've been, like, banging out so many videos every day. My God, people are going so fast. What is the deal here? Nice pickup trucks. 3 pickup trucks in a row. I'm going like the speed limit. I'm even going a little bit over the speed limit. 2 miles over the speed limit. But anyway, people are like hurrying now to get to work, probably. Not me, just vlogging. Just vlogging. So, what was I gonna say? I was thinking that breakfast sounded good, and then I was like, I'm not even really that hungry though. Oh, I haven't been really doing a bunch of like Christmas stuff, other than looking at Christmas lights, and I listened to a lot of Christmas music at first, and now I'm just kind of like, eh. And I really, to be honest with you, I want to listen to these Christmas cozy mysteries, but I also want to listen to the Jana DeLeon series. So I'm like, I really wanted to finish it by the beginning of the year, which I can't do both. So after I finish this Hook, Line, and Blinker, I think I'm going to listen to just Christmas books after this. And maybe that will get me in the spirit a little bit. Because I have quite a few downloaded mysteries. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And then, that's it. And then put up my Christmas tree, my little Christmas tree this weekend. And what? That'll give me 2 weeks until Christmas. Well, I was figuring it out because I want to do the 12 days of Christmas. And so I was like, when do I start it? Because I'm doing the 12 days of Christmas for my review channel. And so I was like, when do I start it? And, I was looking on the calendar, and that would be like Sunday if I did it through Christmas Eve, and that would be Monday if I did it through Christmas Day. So I think I'm going to do it through Monday. And, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So is Christmas on a Friday this year? I gotta turn around anyway, so I'm gonna pull in here and see if Christmas is on a Friday. I don't know why it matters. But I will tell you this. I'm doing all of my Christmas shopping online. Yeah, it's on a Friday. But I'm doing all of my Christmas shopping online. And I have my entire list right here on the phone, especially all of the things that I'm going to buy Alex. But I have to, like, get online and start buying the stuff, or there's no way it's going to come in time for Christmas. I actually bought all this stuff on Amazon because I wanted to review a bunch of stuff. And it, like, the Christmas stuff that I ordered, well, one Christmas thing that I ordered came. The other Christmas stuff that I ordered, like, hasn't come yet. And I was like, of course, they send the stuff of course, first they send the stuff that's not the Christmas stuff, you know? So anyway, it doesn't matter, I guess. But I wanted to like review Christmas stuff on my Amazon channel. I thought that would be fun. I have like 2 boxes in the basement of stuff that I never reviewed that I bought, like as seen on TV stuff. I don't know if I'll ever review those or not. At this point, just a waste of money. They're not stuff like that are going bad because it's like not food or anything. Obviously, it's as seen on TV stuff. So I try to review the other stuff first. And I love doing the Starbucks drinks, and the Starbucks drinks are really fun. But to be really honest with you, I got kind of tired of doing it for a little bit. And I wanted to take a break myself. But then I thought other people were getting sick and tired of it too, because I was starting to get comments and people were like, all you do is like review Starbucks drinks. And then when I stopped doing it, people were like, I miss the Starbucks drinks reviews. And then a couple of you on here were like, oh, I love the Starbucks drinks reviews after you review it. So I don't know. YouTube is very much a place where like if you get 1 or 2 comments, you take it to heart. Like, you know, somebody says like, oh, you do Starbucks drinks every day, and the other 30 comments can be, I love these reviews, but that one comment can make you think, oh, I do too many of these Starbucks reviews, you know? I'll get back to them. I got stuff to get me through the weekend, and then, well, maybe I'll do a Starbucks review this weekend or tomorrow. It just depends, we'll see. I actually haven't even looked at totallythebomb.com to see what new things they have out. I love doing those though, they're fun to try something different. You know, different drinks and stuff. It's just kind of expensive and it's a waste because I don't really end up drinking the drinks, typically. So, I don't know. I've got a fun one for tomorrow that I want to do. I've got one for tomorrow and one for the next day. We'll see. I do have a Christmas one I have 2 Christmas ones for tomorrow and, what's tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. Maybe I'll do a Starbucks one tomorrow. We'll have to see. I don't know. It's 5:54. Do you remember that thing? If you ever watch that, Geraldo, the Club Kids, he's always like, they play that thing in the background. And it's like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Do you know where your kids are? They're probably raving at a nightclub in New York City. This is the new wave of Club Kids. And then it shows everybody dancing. God, I wanted to be a Club Kid so bad. My roommate and I thought we were such Club Kids. We weren't. We were not. We were different, we were funky, but we were not Club Kids. She and I were obsessed with that song by the Bucketheads, and it was called The Bomb. I've told this story before, but actually I've told it more jokingly on my drama channel. But the song goes, these sounds fall into my mind. But it's like, these sounds fall into my mind. And we swore that the words were big town boogie on a Saturday night. We swore those were the words, okay? And we were with this friend of ours one time, and she was like real snooty. And she was like in the back seat, I'll never forget. She was sitting like right in the middle. And she had her legs crossed and just like laid back. And we're like singing that song. We're like, big town boogie on a Saturday night. And she was like, you know, it's actually, these sounds fall into my mind, right? And we're like, big town boogie on a Saturday night. We did not care. We were too cool for school. What did I listen to at that era? Well, so my old roommate was obsessed with Rob Zombie and White Zombie, and actually followed him on tour. That was when we stopped being roommates. She moved out to go do that, and that is how she met her husband. And what else do we listen to? We listened to a lot of Prince back then. And we listened to a lot of like club music, like club anthems. like Deborah Cox and you know, all the Whitney Houston mixes and all of that stuff. RuPaul, a lot of RuPaul back in the day. Isn't that funny? Anything that you would hear in a club, we listened to. And had tape cassettes and CDs of the songs. Because that was when it was kind of changing over from tapes to CDs. It stopped, and I don't know when it stopped. And I was talking about the music my old roommate and I listened to. And I was saying that we used to listen to a lot of the Cranberries. But then we used to also listen to a lot of the music that I listened to in high school. Like, we would listen to, like, New Order, The Smiths, The Cure. Just very kind of like Heaven or Las Vegas by Cocteau Twins. Just a lot of that kind of very moody music, you know? And we would, like, make a fire and light a bunch of candles and just sit around and smoke cigarettes and talk. We could talk for hours. It just seems crazy to me now, you know? It's like I'll pick up Tanya for a fountain pop or something like that, and we'll drive around and we'll talk for an hour in the car. And I'm sure, like, if Tanya and I, like, in the summer, sometimes, like, sitting down on her back patio or whatever, but, like, I mean, every night, maybe it was the drinking, who knows, every night, although my husband goes out to dinner, well, I mean, he'll probably have a couple glasses of wine when he does it, but, like, we would sit there and have conversations that would last 4 and 5 hours about nothing. I don't even know what we were talking about, you know? I really don't. Isn't that so crazy? These sounds fall into my mind. Did y'all get up this early in the morning? I mean, I'm awake, but I'm gonna go back to bed. That's for sure, you know. Don't even think twice. Don't think twice. It's all right. I always listen to a lot of, like, that grassroots music that I was raised on too, like Bob Dylan and Judy. Oh God, she and I used to listen to a lot of Judy Collins. I like to listen to Judy Collins and get real drunk and sad. We used to listen to a lot of sad music. I don't think really that I was sad. I mean, I think I had things that bothered me, definitely. I think I was more ashamed of being gay than I had any clue of. I think I was lonely, romantically and worldly. I think I really knew that most of my friends were not really like, we didn't really, I mean, I don't know that I could have put words to it at that age, because I don't know that I really understood it on a deep level, but I think I knew, like, these weren't, like, salt of the earth, will be around 20 years from now kind of friends. You know what I mean? Which I think is why we were forever pledging our undying love to one another, saying, oh, like, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives, because I think that we kind of knew that we weren't. And so I just felt kind of alone in this world. And whereas I think that a lot of people really enjoy kind of that loneliness, like, I always wanted to fit in and be part of something. So it was just further isolation for me, and I think I mentioned somebody's name. But I also knew that, like, the people that I dated were only going to be there for a short period of time. Nobody that I dated did I think that I was going to be with, like, forever. You know what I mean? And I was lonely, and I don't think I was aware that I was lonely. Because I had people around me. You know, today, I know that, I had somebody that said this to me years ago, and I'll never forget when she said it to me. I just was like, oh my God. And she said, I can be lonelier in a room full of people than I can be all by myself. And I thought, that is me. That statement is totally me. And then when I was watching Michael's podcast the other night, and he was saying, I talked about this on here already, Michael from Pophology, and he was talking about that he's such an introvert that it takes him a lot of, we are doing a video together at some point. We're gonna have to figure out how to do that. So just so you guys know, that is happening. But that it just takes a lot of energy for him, because to be around people, I was like, oh my God, that's me. Like, I literally just feel zapped by people's energy, you know? And I just prefer to be alone. I really do, you know? And so it's this kind of like dichotomy that goes back and forth, because it's like, I've learned to be alone and I enjoy being alone, but then like, and I guess I would prefer to be alone because it doesn't take as much energy for me, but I miss being around people. I like being around people too. But I don't like being around a lot of people, like in a large group or lines or like a football or basketball game. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy, you know what I mean? Like, I enjoy being with like 2 or 3 people at an intimate dinner. You know, I was telling Tanya, I was like, we do these dinners after meetings sometimes, and then it's like we have such a good time, and there's like, it's typically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, and we have such a good time, and then we're always like, we should do this like every week, blah, 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 and then we don't do it for another 6 weeks, and like, those are the kind of things that I enjoy, and I don't have tons and tons of people like to do that with. I just don't. I have a few people, you know? But then the other thing is that the one-on-one kind of stuff kind of like zaps my energy. Like, I am better in like a group of like 3 to 4 or 5 than I am just one-on-one. Like, it's like, unless it's somebody like Tanya or Alex, it's just so easy, you know? But I don't know. I think back then I just was like, I think I was really just kind of like numb in my late teens and early 20s, and I just don't even think that I really knew who I was. And I think that drinking pulled that emotion out, and I think, I don't know, I really don't know, you know? I mean, I believe that I was an alcoholic when I first picked up. I mean, I can go back to some of those very first times drinking, and it just was like I drank alcoholically. And what I mean is strictly for the effect. And, I mean, obviously most 12-year-olds aren't drinking because they like the taste of beer, so. But I'm talking about, like, you know, me going to Mohawk Trails Elementary School, where I went to elementary, and, you know, swinging with my 3 friends and us drinking and them puking and me being like, I can't wait to do this again. I mean, you hear that story over and over and over and over in the rooms of recovery. People will say that. Everybody else threw up and I was like, I can't wait to do this again. They'll even say I threw up and I couldn't wait to do it again the next day. You know, I was just actually listening to this lead the other night, and this woman was talking about how, like, she vomited all over the car and all this crazy stuff happened, and then she was like, and I woke up the next morning and was like, can we do that again? I mean, that's just kind of how we think sometimes, you know? And I don't know, it just was like, that is so pretty over there. Oh my gosh, it's Christmas lights. I do love Christmas lights. Are they not so pretty? But you know, I think I just had all this stuff, you know? And I think drinking and using drugs took it away to some degree, or muted it or something. I remember I went to, I don't know why I'm thinking of this. I remember I was dating somebody, and my mom was working at this Filofax store in the mall. And I remember she was really tired, and I went to go visit with her. And I brought this guy by. I can see myself. I'm like in this black biker jacket. And it was really thin. There were points in my use that I got like literally down to like 140. And I'm 5'10" and a half, so that's really thin for me. I was like 145. And I was really thin, I was really into that emaciated kind of Calvin Klein look back then that was completely unhealthy. And whoever this guy was I basically wanted to shove him in my mom's face because I wanted everybody to accept me where I was at. It wasn't just enough for me to come out. It was like, and you'll accept everything about me and blah, 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 whatever. And I can remember there was like a lot of people in the store or something, and my mom kind of like came out to the edge of the store, and I think I had been drinking, honestly. And she was like, oh, hey, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. I don't know why I'm just remembering this right now, but she was like, probably not my proudest moment, one of my proudest moments, but she was like, I was like, I wanted to introduce somebody to you. And she was like, oh, is this your friend? And I was like, and she said friend. And sometimes my mom would say friend or special friend, and it really pissed me off. And she was never embarrassed. I think she just didn't know, like, how to say things to her friend. Like, she would later say to me, like, Matthew Shepard changed everything for my mom. When Matthew Shepard was killed, my mom, I think, really realized that could be her kid. And she looked at everything in a completely different way. Because as liberal as my mom was, my mom could have 100 gay friends. I said my mom's friend's name. Anyway, you know, my mom could have like 100 gay friends, and that was fine. And she was like super liberal and everything like that, right? And there was no issue with that. And my mom had like no issues with anything to do with my being gay or anything like that. Her issue was the fact that society wasn't kind to gay people. And she was afraid that I was going to get hurt as a result of that. And she didn't want to see me get hurt. So she would use these protective measures and say things, you know, like your friend or your special. She would say like to her friends, like his special friend or whatever. And I can remember, I actually said this in a video today joking because I was talking about Plathville, and I was like, if that was my mom, because her mom goes, boyfriend or friend? And she goes, Mom, we're just friends. I said in my video today, and I was joking, that I would have looked at my mom and said, we're just effing. But I totally probably would have, at that point in my life, I probably, because I was kind of like that ruthless, I probably would have said to my mom, like if she had said to me, like, is this your special friend? I would have said, no, we're effing. I probably would have, just to like piss her off, you know? I was drinking, I was in my addiction, I did not care. So anyway, I remember whoever this guy was somebody that I was like real proud of or something. And she was like, is this like your friend or is this a friend? And it was like in front of the store, and I remember there were quite a few people like around us. And I go, no, Mom, he's my boyfriend. And I said it like real loud, and I go, come on, let's go. And I like stormed off. I look back on that, I think, what an idiot I was. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... I think today what I know, today what I tell people because I experienced it is, there's a coming out process that family members and parents and grandparents have just like we do. And, you know, we come out, it's interesting reading these Heartstopper books, because these graphic novels, because they're a lot about coming out. And how do you come out to people and whatever. And it's interesting because there's this whole train of thought from this lesbian couple in the book, that there's no really reason to come out. Like, you just are, and then people can either accept it or they don't accept it. Like, you start holding hands, you change your relationship status on Facebook, and people either just deal with it or they don't deal with it, you know? I think sometimes coming out is more of a protective measure for us. I don't know. I guess I have to think about that on a deeper level. But I can remember a couple years ago, God, it's probably been like, it's been a long time now, because Alex did, for Telemundo, they asked him to do a video for National Coming Out Day in Spanish, and so he did, I was so proud of him for doing that. And so he told us, like, basically his coming out story in Spanish for Telemundo. And I can remember saying something to Caroline at the time about it being National Coming Out Day. And she was like, and this is where my cousin is very, very cool, but like, she just doesn't play into like what goes on in the world because she like lives by her own standards and stuff. But she was like, do people even come out anymore? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I mean, aren't people just like out, like they don't, like there doesn't need to, like, you know? And it was weird because like in her world, like she could care less if anybody was gay. Like it wouldn't, like if you watch the Q&A that we did together, like my being gay to her like changed absolutely nothing. And I really truly believe that. And you know, that was how she was 30 years ago, and that's how she is today. I mean, I think she's just always been that way. And I don't know if that has anything to do with how she was raised. I don't know if that's how she just has always been. You know, like, what? I don't know. Like, our family just didn't really make a big deal out of different stuff like that, you know? So, I don't know, you know, but like I remember her saying that to me. But I think to the person that is coming out, there does feel like there's a need to come out, kind of, you know? There is a pride that comes along with it, too, of finally being able to say it out loud, you know? I couldn't say it out loud. That was so hard for me, you know? And I think when I came out, it was probably more comfortable for me to be drunk in a bar kissing a guy than it was for me to actually say out loud, sober, I'm gay, you know? And that's a sad statement. And I almost kind of think that like coming out into a world of like the AIDS crisis and ACT UP and discrimination and Keith Haring and on and on and on, I think like to some degree that like gave gay people a sense to like come together as a community. And so I feel like maybe I felt like I was part of something. Like when I came out, like I talked about the importance of me feeling like I was part of something. And even though maybe I didn't feel like we were like the closest friends in the world, or that we would be friends for the next 30 years together or anything like that, like I did feel kind of like part of something, like we were fighting something together, you know? And there was a pride in being gay. I can remember going to Pride Days and stuff, and it just was different back then. It just was completely different, you know? Like, I have nothing, like, there's a lot of, you know, like, people that are gay that really, like, bad talk Pride Day, and it's just, they'll say it's just a bunch of guys walking around in Speedos and, you know, shirtless and, you know, drag queens and stuff. I love all that. I think, no offense, but I mean, I think it's great that we can feel that comfortable to be ourselves and to be out, you know? And I love the parade, and I think it's fun, and I think the fact that there is a parade of LGBTQIA plus people that goes right through the middle of Indianapolis is just fantastic, quite frankly. And when we had to hide for so long of our lives, you know? And, but, you know, back then, Pride Day was different, and Pride Day would be this whole thing that they would do. Like, I can remember they did this, like, Damien Center. Damien Center is like this, I wouldn't call it like an AIDS clinic, HIV and AIDS clinic. I don't know what, well, maybe I would, I don't know. Resource center, so to speak. And, I can remember when I was getting my master's degree, and there were like 2 practicum internships in Indianapolis that like everybody wanted in my grad program, and it was like Riley Hospital for kids, which were like impossible to get, and it's like impossible to get on there. It's like one of the best children's hospitals in the world. And then the Damien Center, because if you worked at either one of those places, you had like such a great background to go anywhere else and work, is what they said. Plus they hired a lot of people on. But anyway, the Damien Center every year would do this thing called the Garage Party. If you live in Indianapolis and you're my age, you might remember the Garage Party. The Garage Party was at the fairgrounds, and they would have some big headliner come in. And I mean, it was always like some old school gay headliner, right? Like, Jennifer Holliday from, you know, Dream Girls, you know, whatever. Or it would be like, what's her face? Oh, Sandra Bernhard sang her on that one show, and I love her. Shoot, why can't I think of her name? Darn it, I can't think of the song. Taylor Dane. It was kind of like a prelim to Pride Day, and it was always race day weekend. Garage party, race day weekend, get it? It was like our gay party, because like there was always big, huge parties, you know, for race day weekend. And I remember it was at the fairgrounds, and you'd have like these drink tickets, and then like everywhere, like every bar in Indianapolis had like a booth. I remember my friend Duke and I got, my friend Duke is the one that took his life. We went, and he was dating this guy that owned this bar, and the guy gave us like all these drink tickets, and we must have had $100 worth of drink tickets. We were so tanked. And I remember we walked around, and it went to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And so it was like, I'm not really explaining how it went, but it was like, it was at the state fairgrounds in this one like Coliseum room. So it was like, not the Coliseum, but I think it was like this other room where it was like, up above was like cement, and it was all the bars, and then you would like go down like 10 steps into like this middle area, which is like where they would show animals and stuff, you know, but it wasn't. It was like the cement. They weren't showing animals obviously that night, so it was like this cement area, and that's where they would have like the person singing, and it was like a dance floor and stuff. So it was crazy, and it would go until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And Duke and I just kept on walking around and around getting more drinks, and then whatever like tips they made, they would dedicate, or they would donate all of the tips to the garage party that night. Oh my God, I remember we were so tanked. So tanked. I can just see us like holding hands, walking around. That's fairgrounds. Gosh. Oh my God, I did have some good days drinking. I mean, obviously. I mean, part of the reason why I'm an alcoholic is because I love to drink. It just stopped working for me, you know? But we did have some good times. We would always like, Duke and I were either like best friends or we were always fighting. There was never like in between. I remember we would go in the bathroom and try to light a joint. We thought like nobody could smell it. We also went to National Entertainer of the Year, the first year that I ever went together. I always wonder what happened to this drag queen. We became really good friends, like fast friends. Our friend, she was in the pageant. Yeah, she was in the pageant that year, National Entertainer of the Year. And so, well, we had 2 friends that were in it. One of our friends, Terry Vanessa Coleman, she was like runner-up that year to Shayla Simpson, who won. But our other friend, she was like, she did If by Janet Jackson. She did not make top 10. She didn't care if she made top 10. But so we were up there, and I don't know how, they were all sharing a dressing room or something, and we met this queen named Motion from Atlanta, and she didn't make top 10. But like everybody, so it was like the pageant started, like the prelim nights were like Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or something, and then the pageant was like Friday, Saturday, and then the final night was Sunday. And so it went like the whole weekend. So like those people that didn't make like the top 10, they just stayed and partied with their dancers and stuff because they were already there. They'd already gotten hotel rooms and stuff for the weekend, right? So then they just like, everybody just got dressed up and looked good, which is what we did. Except we were all rooting on Miss Terry Vanessa Coleman, who I think she ended up winning. She didn't win National Entertainer, but she didn't end up, she was a Miss National, I think. But anyway, she sang live Bridge Over Troubled Water, I remember. So anyway, she wasn't really like that close a friend of mine. She was friends with, actually somebody, like I said something on a video one time and she like commented on my Facebook or something. I think I might be friends with her on Facebook about the video or something like that. But anyway, she would never remember me. It was probably, I mean, God, it was 1993. So, because that was the year Shayla Simpson won. And I stayed with my friend down there in Louisville, my friend Peter. and my other friend did too. My friend that I knew from elementary, junior high, high school, kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school. She and I drove down there for that week. But anyway, my friend Duke and I, we met this queen named Motion from Atlanta, and oh my God, she was so much fun. And we would walk around, and so our friends were giving us drink tickets, and so we were wasted drunk. We basically lived on drink tickets, you can see. And we were so wasted drunk that whole week, and I can remember we would just sleep, and then we would go to the mall, that Cherokee Mall or whatever it was called in Louisville, Kentucky. And we would buy cute outfits for that night, and then we would go tan and stuff, because this was like in July, the end of July, and we would go tan, and then we would like go get something to eat and come back and take naps, and then we would get up and we would start drinking and smoking weed again and getting ready to look cute for the night for the boys. We had to go find boys, you know. So anyway, I can remember we met that Motion out, and Duke and Motion and I, we walked through that whole Connection bar that whole weekend just doing high kicks. We had our arms around each other and we were doing like high kicks and stuff, and people would be like, do it, do it. Like, people knew that we were doing these hike, and they'd like, do it. And like all three of us were like the Rockettes doing these high kicks. I was just talking about the Rockettes today in my drama video. God, it's so funny, and I look back on all of that. I remember that final night we stood up at the Connection. This was before they moved it now. It's like at this horseshoe casino thing, or the Louisville Pavilion or something. I don't know, but it used to be the horseshoe casino. But the final night was at the Connection forever, and you could buy tables. Years later, my ex and I, we would buy tables to go to National Entertainer of the Year. But but that first year, we did not buy a table, and we stood, I think it started at like 9 o'clock. We probably got into the bar. They have like, this place is closed down since then. It was, oh my God, you guys, if you have never been to the Connection in Louisville, you have not lived. I mean, it is so much fun. And it had like, it was like this huge, I mean, it was a theater just for drag shows with huge red curtain and everything. It was unbelievable. And this huge bar in the back, it was massive and tiered. It went down and had tables and stuff. It was so cool. We stood up by that bar, literally, you guys, from like 8:30 probably all the way till 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we stood the entire night. And then I remember my friend and I, the one that I knew, you know, from kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school, she and I and this other guy, I don't know, I think he came up just for the weekend, and we had to drive him home. I don't know what ended up happening to him. His name was Rob. But anyway, I have no idea where he's at today. We were never that close. But anyway, he lived with another friend of ours. He lived with a friend, actually, that lived with me right before I got sober, that she was the one that looked at me and said, the only way I can be your friend is by not being your friend, and if you don't slow down, I'm going to tell your dad what you're doing. And I was like, get that out of my life. But anyway, he lived with her at the time. So I don't really ever think about the fact that this National Entertainer of the Year was literally like a year before I got sober, like a year and a half, which is crazy. You just see that I had this moment where I was thinking, which is so crazy, because this one guy that was staying with my friend Peter that weekend, because we all like stayed in the same apartment, and I remember he was talking about this, like, he hooked up with this couple, this guy and this girl. I remember him telling us this story, and he ended up, I don't know how I remember him telling us that story, but he ended up being the guy that I dated at the end of the summer before I went into treatment, that I started using like cocaine and stuff with, really hardcore. I must have kind of like had a crush on him for like a whole year then. That's crazy to think, because I don't really remember that like that. I always kind of thought it was convenient that we liked each other. Anyway, this person behind me is riding my tail, even though there's 2 lanes and they could go around me really easily, but I guess they don't want to do that. And I didn't even realize that they were until I looked up. So anyway, she and I drove home with him in the back seat, and I remember I was like so tired. And she was like this. She's like, I've got to work tomorrow. And blah, 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 blah. She was so mad. And I just was like, oh my God, I was in awe. To this day, you can watch that Shayla Simpson on YouTube. It's SHAYLA SIMPSON. Shayla Simpson, His Eye is on the Sparrow. And it was the winning talent at National Entertainer in 1993. And I was standing in the audience watching it. It was my very first national drag pageant. You can watch it on YouTube. And let me just tell you, it will put drag pageants into a new perspective for you. What you have seen on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I mean, and this was 1993, you guys. This was 1993, you know. You should see pageants today. I mean, pageants today are unbelievable. People come out with 10 and 20 dancers and drive cars on stage. And Camille Simpson, her drag daughter, she drove a car on stage to Pull Up to the Bumper Baby by Grace Jones for her presentation at National Entertainer. Miss Continental, which I've wanted to go to for years. I mean, you guys want to talk about, that is like next level Broadway production kind of stuff. Anyway, I have gone on and on and on. You guys, I think I have talked for more. Have I been like talking for like an hour and a half? I don't know. But I'm gonna get off here now. I am still wide awake. I'm gonna get off here and I am going to listen to some of my audiobook now. So, I hope, that was fun talk tonight. I had fun talking tonight. So thank you for listening. Can you see how wide awake I am? This is so weird. I could actually live a normal life if I went to bed early. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I hope you are having an amazing Friday. Can you believe it's the beginning of the weekend? Thank God it's Friday. I have no plans this weekend, so it doesn't really matter. It might as well be Tuesday. Fridays might as well be Tuesday. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys are having an amazing Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And an amazing start to your weekend. Do something fun this weekend. Do something exciting. Do something that will make yourself proud when you look back on it. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Practice random acts of kindness and let somebody know how much they mean to you. And don't forget, you can start your day over whenever you want. Love you guys. Bye. Love ya.